Based on last week, I had much more people reaching out and enjoy a thorough market update in Cache Markham for all the freehold properties. Continuing on to that, I would like to go into more detail about the condo market in Unionville, Markham. If you are curious about the current condo market in Markham, you won't want to miss this video. Hey, welcome back to another video on the AV Team Real Estate channel. I'm Antonio and I am a local real estate agent in the GTA. If you have been enjoying the weekly video from this channel, don't forget to like the video and consider subscribing to the channel so that it can be shared with more people who want to get updated on the real estate market in the greater area, Toronto. Greatly appreciate it. If you have any inquiries about the real estate, don't hesitate to contact me via the first link in the description down below. For those that just started to follow the condo market in Unionville, Markham, or those that are already eyeing Unionville, Markham condos and waiting for more prices to come down, we will be going through a deep analysis of prices for 1 bed, 2 beds, and 3 bedrooms, if any. I would say the majority of Markham condos are in Unionville, and the rest are spread all over, and that is the reason I'm going to go into details in Unionville. Now let's take a look at the map of Toronto Real Estate Board, and here is Markham, which is quite large, and we are looking at the area within Unionville, which is downtown Markham, where the most condo and the highest density of condos are located, mainly in the intersection of Enterprise Boulevard and Birchmount. More specifically, south of Highway 7, west we have Broderick Road, and to the east we have Kennedy, and just north of 407, and this is Unionville, Markham. So here we have the condo market at Unionville, Markham, and on the left side we have the full year data from January to December. In this column we have the average prices of 2023, and we have the sales or transaction in 2023, and also a column for days on the market. And on the right side we have the 2024 average prices and the sales and also the days on the market. As of recording of this video on August 1st, we only have the data until end of July, as you can see here. Starting in January of 2023, we started off with just under 700,000. We have the slowest sales at 7, which is typically happening during the beginning of the year, and we have days on the market at 37. Now looking at the average prices, it didn't go up much in February, and the sale just slightly went up at 19, and the days on the market has gone a little bit lower at 14. However, during March it went down just a tad bit, still hovering just shy of 700,000, and the sale was remaining in the 30s, and days on the market practically is just a little bit more than 2 weeks at 25 and 23, and April was going back up a little bit again at 786,000, and the sales around 30. And in the spring market again during May we have 791,000, and we have the highest sales count during May at 48, just about average of 2 weeks days on the market. And there's our significant day during June and July. Here is the date of the rate announcement, and during June last year we actually have a rate hike because of the situation with the inflation. As you can see, the rate has gone from 4.5, we are back up to 4.75 and up to 5 in July. As a result, you can see that the sales has dropped down from 48. Now in June and July we have 23 and 21. Surprisingly, the price has still remained steady. In fact, in July we have reached one of the highest above 800,000 in terms of average prices, and the days on the market was still hovering between 14, 23 and 19 during the summertime. We have remained into 800 throughout until September. The fall market hasn't really sparked up the market in terms of the condos sales in Unionville. In fact, we have dropped to below 800 again into 700s throughout the winter. The sales has also gone down significantly, and usually during the winter we usually have the slowest season. Days on the market will remain higher. Now let's take a look at the beginning of the year of 2024, and compared to last year in 2023 in January, we have slightly up from last year. Sales was also higher at 20 compared to 7 last year, and the days on the market remain into 30s. As you recall, last year we're starting to have a lot of new listing and the active listing were starting to accumulate much more. However, the price is still relatively going steady, just above 700,000. Most people in the market was quite optimistic and waiting for a rate cut earlier. Here is the policy interest rate. During January, we were expecting a rate cut, but it didn't go through. Instead, the Bank of Canada held the rate at 5 for 3 consecutive months up until April. As a result, didn't spark the sales. If we compare to last year, we are actually down. Example, April last year was 30 transactions and we have only 27. In the spring during May, it was the peak last year at 48 and instead we only have 24 in May. However, the price remain high. In fact, it's actually higher than last year in May, but the sales has gone down almost half. And the days on the market also is a little bit higher than last year. There are much more new listings. However, the sales has gone down, but the price really didn't come down as much, which also means the sellers are not willing to let go for much reduced price. However, the price has come down compared to last year in July from 814,000 now in 2024 at 782,000. And the sales also down from 21 to 13 compared to same month last year. And the days on the market also increase. So here is the overall condo market in Unionville in terms of average prices. We can conclude in 2023 we started off at 697,000 and at the end of the year we only up to 718,000, which is really didn't move much. In 2024 from 729 and we are actually up to 782,000 in July. However, we did have a rate cut in June but didn't spark the sales. We're still getting lesser transactions, which doesn't look good because we have much more inventory at the moment. We still have time remaining at the end of the year, but it doesn't look good at the moment even if we anticipate more rate cut down the line. So now let's break it down further. Prior, we were talking about average prices that include studio, 1 bed, 2 bed and 3 beds all together for the average prices. Now break it down into studio, 1 bed, 2 bed and 3 beds for year 2023 and 2024. Also, just wanted to point out that most condominium they have only like about 1 to 2% of studio units. 3 beds probably less than 10%. So mostly you will see 1 bedroom or 1 plus 10 or 2 bedroom plus 10 units. That's where the majority of the sales happen, in the 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms. So in the entirety of the 2023 only have 2 studio sales and the average price was 447,000 in 2023. And 2024, this data is not complete. We only have until July 31st. We still have about less than 5 months time to catch up. And also just wanted to point out that most of the sales, I mean like about 70 to 75% of the sales usually happen in the first 3 quarters of the year. In the last quarter, typically we don't have much activities. And we can see right now we don't have any studio units sold so far in 2024. Now 1 bed in 2023 we have 158 sales, which is the most, and the average price was 673,000. Compared to this year, we only have 90 sales as opposed to 158 last year, which is down quite significantly, but the price held up about the same at 676,000 and the average price was 884,000. Compared to this year so far, we have only 52 sales. The average price has come down from 884,000 to 862,000 so far in 2024. And for the 3 bedrooms, we have identical 6 sales at the moment, and the last year price was about 1.109 million, and we are actually a little higher up right now at 1.139. And we have 285 condo sales in 2023, and the average price was about 778,000. And I just wanted to remind you, this data is just until July 31st, and we have only 148 sales at the moment for 2024. To catch up in the last 5 months, for over 100 transactions, I would say it's not looking great. And to start off, the year of 2023 wasn't a great year. And now in 2024, we have even lower sales and it's not looking great. Surprisingly, the average price is still higher than last year's average, which I also pointed out earlier. The sellers are quite stubborn in the Unionville in terms of pricing. Now the question remains how long the seller could hold off if they really want to sell the unit. We had a rate cut already happen in June, but it did not really move the needle in Unionville, Markham. So it is still remains to be seen. So let's get into Realm, and I just wanted to share some of the sales in July. So we are taking a look at York, Markham, in Unionville for all the condos that were sold, and the date from July 1st of 2024 to end of July of 2024. As you can see, there were only 7 listings that were sold. The most recent is listed on the top, which is sold in July 25th. Unit size mostly from 600 to 699. We have only one that sold between 500 to 599 square feet, and we have also days on the market for each of the unit in this column. It seems that most units were sold under 19 days and 17 days from this list, but we have as high as 54 days on the market. So let's take a look at one of these units at 25 Water Walk, which is a building that is less than 5 years old. It is relatively new building and only took 17 days to sell the unit, which is not too long. The price they listed was $729,900. Were sold under the listing price for $706,000, which has gone down under the listing price. Let's take a look at the property history to give you some story about this sale. Basically, the previous seller bought this unit in April of 2021 for $668,000, which they also bought it under the listing price of $679, as you can see here. It appears that the seller did rent it out after in May of 2021 and decided to sell it in July 2024 and eventually sold it under the listing price for $706,888. From this history, you can see the seller really didn't make much money at all. In fact, it could be losing money. Practically, the seller held it for 3 years. From $668,000, the seller ended up selling for $706,000, which is roughly about $38,000 up from the price that they bought it for. Accounting the agent fees and closing fee and whatnot, the seller could really be losing some money for this transaction. So this is an example of how difficult it is, the current condo market in Markham. And let's take a look at another example at 25 Water Walk, and this unit at 208 that were listed for $698,000 and sold under for $685,000. It appears that they only took 19 days on the market, but let's take a closer look at the property history. This is a little bit more complicated, but it doesn't seem that it only took 19 days. It appears that they listed since March 1st of 2024 for $749,000, and it wasn't successful, and they raised the price to $775,000, which is the actual seller's expectation back then in March. However, they changed it back and reduced it again to $759,000. As you can see, it wasn't successful and they terminated the transaction in April. And once again, they relisted again in April for $759,000, and at the same time, they also listed for lease for $2,550. However, by the end of April, they decided to terminate the listing and also terminate the lease, and eventually waited until July to list it again for $686,000. I'm guessing they were listing it for holding offers, but again it wasn't successful, and they increased the price to $698,000 and eventually for $685,000. So all in all, I don't think this is only took 19 days. As you can see, the seller started to sell it since March for $749,000 and eventually sold it for $685,000 in July 23rd of this year. This is a prime example when the seller's expectations don't really align with the market price, and it takes more than 4 months to get the unit sold. This also demonstrates some of the seller's challenges in today's condos market in Unionville. And let's take a look at the average prices for all one bedroom in July of 2024 at Unionville. The average condo prices for one bedroom bedroom is currently at $690,000, and the average days on the market is sitting at 18. Now let's take a look at the condo in Unionville for the month of July for 2 bedrooms. As you can see, we have only 9 sales for July, and the most recent sale was on the top on July 31st. Let's take a look at the average pricing for the 9 units. They are currently averaging about $812,000 and on an average of 42 days on the market. Let's take a closer look at the most recent sale at 18 Uptown Drive, Unit 1002. As you can see, it only took 8 days on the market, and it was listed for $779,000 and went under the listing price for just a few thousand there for $773,000. However, let's take a look at the property history to determine really how long it took to sell the unit. In fact, this unit was actually listed in May of 2024 and it was terminated on July 23rd. Once they relisted, it appears like a new listing on the market, eventually sold on July 31st. That took 8 days. However, in reality, they were actually trying to sell since May, but it wasn't successful. So sometimes we have to take a look at when the unit has been terminated earlier, because once they relist it, it counts as new listings and the days on the market counter start from there. So this definitely not only took 8 days, but in fact it was probably more than 2 months. So now let's take a look at the second most recent sales at 15 Waterwalk Drive, Unit 2708. It appears that it took only 22 days to sell the unit. Huge unit between 1,000 to 1,199 square feet, and it was listed for $939,000 and eventually sold under the listing price at $919,000. It appears great, but let's explore more on the property history. And as you can see here, there is a huge property history that goes along this sale. To make the story short, it was 5 years ago they tried to list it for $759,000 and it was suspended. I guess they started to list for sale since October last year in 2023, and it started with $999,000 that I think they were listing it to hold offers, and eventually in late October of last year in 2023 they were relisted for $1.15 million, which is what the seller really expecting. And ever since, we have price change and terminated. Let's cut the history short. We have about 4 terminations since October of last year in 2023, and we have 4 price change during this span of time. So we can say that it took quite some time for the seller to realize the market price, and eventually from the expectation of $1.15 million to get sold on July 25th for $919,000. So we have way over $200K of difference, and this can definitely demonstrate the struggle and challenges they have for the seller in this current condo market in Unionville. Instead of what it states here as 22 days on the market, it is practically almost over 9 months time to get this unit sold. Now let's take a look at the average prices for the 2 bedrooms in Unionville for the month of July, and it is currently sitting at $812,000 for the average condo prices for 2 bedrooms, and it is roughly about 42 days on the market on average, and that is for the month of July. And just to clarify, there are no studio unit which is categorized as 0 bedrooms in the month of July in Unionville, and also there are no 3-bedroom units sold during July in 2024. I hope you enjoyed the Unionville condo market analysis, which will hopefully help you understand the pricing of condos in Unionville and the current struggles and the challenges for sellers. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me via the contact information in the description. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.